Welcome back to another episode of Forbidden Depths. I'm your host, Queen Frostbitten, and we're here today to get down, dirty, and sultry by staying open, educated, consensual, and safe. If you're returning, welcome back to another episode. Thanks for supporting the channel and its growth. If, of course, you're new here, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe, because one taste will never be enough. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Forbidden Depths. Today we have an amazing individual. We're going to talk about promos, and I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves because, of course, they've never been on the channel before. So if you could kindly introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Medina. I am Medina behind Medina Promotions.
Awesome.
The one and only, nobody else, just me.
Yes. So completely solo. You don't have a team. You do all your own promo stuff, right?
Correct.
So my biggest question is, how did you get into promo?
Oh, it kind of goes back a long ways, to be honest. I have been basically following pornography since I was like 17 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think that that would be like the place that I should go to because of my extremely high sex drive.
Mm-hmm.
Until, of course, I realized, hey, I have a gigantic fear of cameras and it's not going to work. So I did customer service all up until just a little over a year ago when I lost my last customer service job, which was online. And I was like, okay, what should I do now? Because by now I was just like completely burnt out of customer service, even though I did really enjoy it for a long time. And I mean, I don't want to like come off wrong here, but I was really good at it. I used to get a lot of compliments. But like the last, I want to say probably 3 years or so, people just ruined it. They can easily ruin anything. But I just got burnt out, and I was just like, I'm done. I'm so done with customer service. And I had been back on social media for maybe a year at that point, because I literally took myself off of social media for 10 years. And
was that like a personal decision?
It was, yeah. I was just, I was on Facebook, I was on Twitter years ago, and I just, again, people ruined it. So I was just, I completely shut down all that stuff. And it was so freeing. I mean, honestly, it was so freeing. And people would talk about their Facebook or whatever. And I'm like, nope, don't have it. Don't care to have it. But eventually I did get back on, and Facebook I use for family and a few friends, but when I decided to get on Instagram and Twitter, that's when I started following people in the adult industry who I had been fans of for many years, and just getting to know them as people. And at some point I did join a few OnlyFans and became DM friends with a few people. And so when I lost my job, I was like, what can I do? What can I do? And I was like, what do I know? What else do I know? And well, I mean, I did know a lot about the porn world in general from following it for so many years. So I was like, okay, I got sick and tired of seeing so many people lose their accounts, having content taken down from whether it was social media or other platforms. And I really wanted to start a social media platform for sex workers, owned by sex workers.
Yeah.
And I talked to a friend of mine who could build it. And he was like, completely into it. We talked to a friend of his who does corporations, and he was completely for it. But it's just a matter of, you can't just talk to anybody in the adult entertainment world and expect them to just trust somebody they don't know, of course.
Right.
So it's a process. And in the
Mm-hmm.
process of doing that, I started the promotions, and I really enjoy doing that. So, I mean, maybe at some point down the road, I can approach a few more people about the social media platform again, but Twitter seems to be doing a little bit better here again. I guess we'll see how that continues to do.
Yeah. That's kind of
I
up
mean,
and down.
well, I mean, I haven't been seeing so many people losing their accounts.
Yeah. That's what
That's
I've noticed too. There's a little bit less of that. And I have noticed that some of the trolls, people that are just there to be negative, some of those people have been losing their accounts. So I'm
yeah,
glad to see that,
yeah,
because
me too. And the
people that
bot.
are throwing on hate speech,
Oh, yeah, that makes me really angry when I see somebody hating on somebody who
yeah,
I just, whether I like them as a fan or I just think they're a good person, I'm like, and I really want to step in because I'm just that type of person who
right.
just doesn't take crap from anybody, and I will step in and tell somebody off. But I'm like, nope, stop yourself, stay out of it. It's none of your business. You don't, you know, I'm like, but it's difficult sometimes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know exactly what you mean. So, I noticed whenever you were suggested, that's, by the way, that's how I found the page for Medina. So I was following Dirty Doc and a couple other promotional accounts, and Medina was suggested. So the algorithm is starting to actually work. So I seen that you do social media assistant. So what kind of accounts do you focus on? So are you trying to focus on just like Twitter media assistant, or are you talking like OnlyFans? Like what all do you do?
I mean, I'm very, very fluent in
Mm.
Instagram and Twitter.
Okay.
I have done a little bit with Snapchat, and just that's my own trying to learn it kind of thing. And only
Right.
because a couple of people that I do post promos for, they do have Snapchats. So that's why I started a Snapchat to try to learn that, as
Right.
well as Tumblr. One person that I post for, they have a Tumblr account. So I started a Tumblr account to learn that one.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that I used to post for in the past had Reddit.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I've learned a little bit about Reddit. But no, I also want to do stuff like help people filter their emails, help
Mm-hmm.
answer DMs, on like their OnlyFans or something if that's what they're looking for.
Right.
Uh, so no, it's not just the only, Instagram and Twitter. I want to branch it out.
Right. Certainly, certainly. So, um, now you know as well as I do that there is a demand for being an assistant when it comes to, the industry, because I mean, there's just there's only one of this person and they have
Right.
all these platforms,
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
direct messages. I'm going to tell you, mine is crazy. It is crazy trying to keep up with everything. And there's no way that I can get to all of my accounts in like a 3-day time period, let
Yeah.
alone in one day. Like it's just not
Yeah.
realistic.
No. And one person that I post promos for, I mean, they've literally got over 30 accounts on different, I mean, just,
Yeah.
and I mean, and, loyal fans, only fans, lover fans, fans league. Oh, I mean, there's like five or six of
Mm-hmm.
those. And yeah, so and I'm also willing to help run a person's social media account through their personal account. So it's not just
Right.
me posting, I'm actually literally willing to be somebody's assistant on that side of things as well, whether it's through their social media accounts or OnlyFans or whatever. So
Right.
that's the kind of stuff I would do as well. Help with
Right.
that. Because yeah, just I mean, in just what I do, yeah, it's very time consuming.
Oh
If
yes. Oh
if
yes.
I'm not posting promos, I'm looking for pictures, organizing pictures, editing pictures,
And
that's
that's
like,
tedious work.
oh my gosh, that takes so long. Sometimes I'll find myself sitting there and I've worked on it for 2 hours and I'm like, "What did I get done?"
Yeah.
Like, it's like I didn't even make a dent in just I'm like, "Okay, so at some point, I'm gonna need an assistant."
That's
It's
exactly what I
it's
said. Oh my
crazy.
goodness. I was like, oh, because I did some assisting back whenever everything started. It was right whenever COVID happened, before everything just kind of shifted to the internet. Like you can find every kind of sex work on the internet. But
Right.
before that big shift, whenever everyone tried to go to like OnlyFans and do online stuff, I didn't do any real assistant work. That's where I began kind of my assistant career. And throughout COVID, I did some assisting on many different platforms. Now, anyone that's listening that is looking for an assistant, let me tell you, don't just let anybody manage your accounts,
Oh,
because
no.
there's safety
Yeah.
issues,
Oh
right?
gosh.
That was one of
Yeah.
my biggest reasons for wanting you to come on. I want to talk about the safety stuff too. Like, do your research, whether you're looking for a client or you're looking for an assistant. Always do your research, because you're going to have to be associated with whoever this person is, whether it's privately or publicly. They're going to have
Yeah.
access to your information, right?
Yes. Yes.
So do your research. Check for their accounts, see how long their account's been up, look to see how valid it looks. You can always tell those like fake phony people.
Oh, yes.
You can look back at their past history. If they literally only have like one post on Twitter, don't do it.
Don't do it. Stay away. Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, and
And
I actually just got a DM from somebody yesterday wanting me to post pictures for this other gentleman who is in the entertainment business, and, I was like, "I'm sorry, are you a fan? Are you
right,
his agent? Who are you?" Because I'm like, unless that person contacts me directly,
right.
no, I'm sorry, I don't do that. I don't post pictures just because a fan sends them to me and wants me to
Yeah.
post them. That's messed up. So, I mean, yeah, I get the
That
strange
comes
stuff too,
into
and
being a
yeah.
lawsuit for you though,
Oh
because
my
it can be
goodness,
seen
that
as
would be
stolen
yeah.
content.
Yeah, that's and it wasn't even just pictures of that particular person. You could see either part of or even all of somebody else in the picture, and I'm like, "Okay, I have no idea who that person is."
Right.
No. Oh my goodness, no.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Because I mean, people don't realize how technical it can get and how many laws you can be breaking. Just because
Yep.
you see a picture on the internet doesn't mean you can use it.
Right, exactly. I mean, there's pictures I mean, I'll be honest, I have pictures of some of the people that I post for from when I was just a fan and just a fan.
Right,
But I also have other pictures that they have posted or other companies have posted from photo shoots.
right.
Those kinds of images are okay to use, but I'm not going to go back and use any pictures that I obtained from when I was just a fan because
Right,
I don't even remember for sure where those came from. So
right.
that's no, absolutely not.
And I don't think a whole lot of people are really informed about that. I That's where this kind of gray area is that people don't understand. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's for everyone to just take and use
Right,
at will. It's
right.
different for you to be like, "Oh, let me retweet this," because at that point you're giving that person credit for their own content, whatever it may be. But
Yep,
if you're taking those, putting it on your page, you're not tagging them, you're not giving them the credit, like it
yep,
literally boils down to a lawsuit. And if they wanted to press charges, they could.
yep, exactly. And I'm very big on I really despise when I see even companies, these big some companies will post videos or, clips of a video and they'll only tag, say, the women. They won't tag the men. I mean, even that just really gets to me because I'm like,
Yeah.
you need to give credit where credit is due. I mean,
Yes.
it wasn't
100%.
just one person in that scene. I mean, you gotta, that's just, to me, that's completely wrong.
Yes. I completely agree with you. I feel like it's one of those things, if anybody is involved, they should be tagged, even if they're the cameraman, if they want to be. Now, some people don't
Right,
like to
right.
be,
Of course.
but
Yeah, producers. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, it's just like if I actually post something of a film, I will make sure that, the title of who produced it, the company,
right.
if there's a director that is named, I will put the director and then of course everybody who was in the film. But sometimes you see films released and the only people that are even named for that release is the women, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that is just so wrong because I mean
Yeah.
that the men that were in there put in so much work too.
Yes.
And I mean, that just really gets to me.
Yes, I completely agree. Now, I do love the way that you do your promotions. So we were kind of talking about how some people just neglect to tag people, they neglect to give credit. So I noticed that on your post, you literally tag the individual. You will put the link of whatever they have, like the Fansly, the OnlyFans, whatever platforms they're using. You put that on there, and you do tags for that individual.
Yeah.
So how did you develop your layout? Like, how did you decide how you were going to frame that whenever you were advertising for people?
Honestly, I was just I didn't start with the hashtags
Hmm.
because that was kind of, I don't know, I wasn't really familiar with it at first.
Right.
And I didn't know how good those are actually to use. I didn't know how that was just kind of foreign to me at first. So I didn't start with
Hmm.
that. I started with just the picture, the link, a little bit of, instead of maybe just one sentence, there would be a couple sentences in there, but
Right.
getting somebody to go to that person's link. But no, it's just been trial and error, honestly.
Hmm.
Um, I've probably picked up a few things just by scanning through Twitter,
Right.
but I didn't specifically find that exact layout from anybody.
Hmm.
And in fact, I've seen some other people now using that layout, and I'm pretty sure it's because they have seen it from me because I've posted
Right.
for a particular individual many, many times, and they have seen that themselves, and that's
Right.
fine. I'm totally fine. Well, it did kind of upset me the very first time I saw it, but after that, I was like, I should take it as a compliment,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, so then it didn't bother me. But yeah, I mean, I when I started with the hashtags, that was I was like, okay, what am I going to use? Because
Right.
sometimes it's so difficult to come up with them, and literally there's sometimes that I'll just make something up because I'm like, okay, I don't know what to use for this TikTok video, and that person doesn't do hashtags on their TikTok video. So
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, let's just throw something out there that doesn't even quite, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know where I come up with some of them, but and a lot of times I'll use the same ones too because they're the most popular ones that you're seeing all the time and
Yes.
bringing the most views anyway. So you see a lot of reuse of many of them. Same thing on Instagram. It's You have to be careful of the ones you use on Instagram though. You can't
Yeah.
use pornography. You can't use anything with the word porn in it. You cannot use because it will literally you'll if you click on something, if you see somebody's link, if you click on I mean, you can go back to some of my old pictures actually on Instagram and see and pull up, um, click on something that has the word porn in it, and it will come up as hidden.
Yeah.
It's only been recently
Instagram
that I've,
is super, super weird about everything, though. Like,
yeah, they're a
they've
lot more
literally
particular.
removed me. I've been removed on there for literally selfies. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I've had
crazy.
some unusual pictures removed because I'm like, okay, that person is completely clothed or a particular meme that I posted that was somehow adult related, they'll remove it. And I'm like, okay, you let me keep the one with dildos in it, but you don't like this one and I don't remember what it was now, but it was so dumb. I'm like, okay. It was something with it had a condom in it. And it was saying that we all start out as white or something like that. Referencing that. And I'm like, really? You're gonna take that meme down, but yet I can have the one up that has a whole bunch of dildos in it. Do you have any idea how ridiculous that is?
Yeah, their
And
algorithm.
when it comes to people being so racist, that makes me crazy too. And it's like, well, we did all start out white, technically.
Yeah.
Everybody's the same on the inside. It shouldn't matter what anybody.
Nobody likes when you talk about cum, like on any platform. Like, ooh, it's this foreign substance you're not allowed to talk about. It's so taboo.
It's like, well, you were cum at one point. I mean, yeah, I hate to tell you, but you were. Yeah. It's a strange world we live in, honestly.
This is true. This is true. And I have found every single day that people get more offended by the smallest of things. Yeah. And I'm just like, how did you survive this long in life?
I know. Sometimes I just wonder, how is this world still turning, honestly, with so much hate, so much stupidity, so much arrogance. I just,
For sure. So with, of course, you doing the advertising, the promos, the assistant work, so what strengths do you feel you need to be successful to do this type of work whenever you're assisting others?
Probably patience is a very, very big one, honestly, because it's very time consuming.
Oh, yes.
I mean, not just the posting, but again, getting things ready for posting. Sometimes even if you're trying to DM people, I mean, you just have to be patient because other people have lives too, and they're exceptionally busy. And some of them are just absolutely insanely busy and don't get a chance to check their DMs, every day or every few days necessarily. So I think patience is really a really big, but that's kind of with just about everything in it, honestly.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Like, I don't think most people that have social media understand how crazy it gets whenever you have 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 people that follow you.
Yeah.
Because you literally, like, your DM is always dinging. Like, I turn my notifications off.
Right. I'm sorry.
Keep my notifications off because of that, because it is so crazy. And then on some platforms, you don't get notifications, right? Like Fansly, OnlyFans, your platforms where you're posting stuff. A lot of those, you don't get like SMS or text notifications. So you don't know when someone messages you. So you literally have to have the app open or the web page open, and you have to see the message coming through. So you don't know what's there until you go back to it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense, because I know one person who has, 400,000, almost 400,000 following on Twitter. And when you try to DM, I mean, sometimes literally I only exchange DMs with them maybe twice a month, because they've got, I can't imagine how many people they have subscribed to their OnlyFans, Fansly, and all that. So I mean, that makes total sense. It would be especially chaotic the more people you've got.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And well, after a while, even if you do get notifications, they pile up, so you can't see them all. It's like, whenever you get an email alert and it's like, oh, you have this many updates on your email, and then you can stretch it out to see like what new emails you have. It's like that with notifications, except it just keeps going forever.
Oh, goodness.
Like you can sit and scroll all day.
Yeah, that's when I mean, But I understand why some people don't want to have an assistant going through those because they want to make sure everything is personal by them. I get
Right.
that, but sometimes it would still be helpful to fish out the ones that they're not going to be interested in, or
Yeah.
you know, so I can't say that even having an assistant for something like that is necessarily a bad thing either, because yeah, they can at least fish out the ones that you're not going to have any interest in whatsoever.
Right.
Same with emails, they can at least fish out the ones that you're not going to have any interest in or not,
Yeah.
so
That's like, it would be perfect in those situations. Like if you're a pro dom, I'm a pro dom,
yeah.
and you have people emailing you being like, "Oh, let's set up a date because I'm trying to fuck." I don't want to look at those.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'm not trying to fuck. I'm I'm trying to beat you.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
so yes, even to have yeah, again, even to have an assistant fishing out the ones you're
yeah,
definitely not going to be interested in would be very beneficial for pretty
less
much
time
anybody that's got over
wasting.
10,000 followers, or even, I mean, my goodness, when you get
Yeah.
into 100,000 and, 400,000, that's
Yeah, that's
yeah,
crazy.
it
That's
is.
crazy. I've never had 400,000 followers on anything.
I
I think the
just
closest
wow, yeah, I can't imagine, honestly.
I had 80,000 on TikTok, and then my account got taken, and then I made another account and it got taken. I'm on my third account now, but I literally don't have very much. I'm not very active on there. And it's because I'm really discouraged. Again, people always taking our accounts. But
Yeah.
I've never had 400,000, so I could imagine how wild that is. Like,
Yeah, so I mean, you don't even have to have the assistant answering the DMs that you
yeah.
want to answer, and you would want to make be that personal person for them. You don't have to have somebody answering those, but it would be good
Hmm.
sometimes to have somebody filter out the bad ones that you would have no interest in whatsoever.
Yes. And there's a lot of like spammy kind of stuff.
Is there
So that would be amazing for that too, because I
is
have a
that
ton of people. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Is that on like OnlyFans you mean, or social media?
Any social media. So like um I'll give you an example. Whenever I open up my Twitter, I'll have people that are genuinely interested in something, people that want to know more about my content, people that want to know if I want to offer this kind of custom. And then there's these people that either just spam somebody else's OnlyFans link so they don't send you any message, just like a link to somebody's OnlyFans,
Oh,
or
okay.
yeah, or they send you some kind of language that I can't understand, like Chinese or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And then you have other people that just send you messages that make no sense. All of those are spam to me. It's like,
Yeah, for
I don't want
sure.
those.
Yeah, I thought you meant that stuff comes on like OnlyFans and stuff.
No, no. Mostly,
I was like, oh
I've
my goodness.
noticed the biggest platforms for it are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yeah.
Like lots of spam, just especially people. And you got to be careful whenever it comes to those spam accounts, because those people will follow you just to steal your content. I've seen several
Yeah.
people send me something in DM and I look back and they've stolen people's pictures and they're posting it like, "Oh, come chat with me here, come do this." I always report those, and then after I get done reporting them, I block them so that they can't be viewing any of my stuff,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I do get a lot of spam on Instagram and Twitter actually. I get tired of seeing
it's
the
bad, isn't
Instagram.
it?
Yeah, I get tired of seeing the Instagram ones pile up of stupid jewelry company things. I don't know what
Yeah.
that's about. Or like shoes,
Yeah.
like tennis shoes. I don't know what that's about either. But yeah, I
Their
block all
biggest thing
them.
is they want you to buy their product, and then they're like, once you buy something from us, we'll post you, we'll
God,
advertise for you. Because I had a ton of those too, and let me tell you, they're like, "Oh, well, if you buy this for a certain amount of money, then we will let you become an ambassador." And
yeah, yeah,
no.
that's what it is. Ambassador that they
No.
always want you to do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to spend
Yeah.
money with you for you to
Right.
advertise me. Because
Yep.
you don't even know if their followers are real. They could be all bots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you got to be
most of them
careful with
have
stuff like that.
most of them don't have any followers, or if they do, they've got like 10.
Or they're like, oh, go to my main account. This is my main
Yes.
account.
Yes.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
You're scamming people.
Yep.
Be careful with that. And I've noticed that a lot with people that are doing assistant work and people that are doing collaborations. They're like, oh, I can be your assistant if you give me all your information. Fuck you, bitch. One,
Oh, yeah.
not gonna do that. Two, these people are like, oh, we can definitely do a collab, and they got like 2 followers. If a person has 2 followers, they're probably not a professional, or they
Yeah.
haven't been doing it very long. One of those.
Yeah.
And 2, if it's an assistant and they don't have any posts and they only got 2 followers, more than likely they're trying to scam you too. Either way, they got 2 followers or just a couple and they don't have any kind of past precedent for you to look at, don't do that.
Yeah. Don't give your information out. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a big security risk, right?
Yeah. Very big.
So
And even with some of the actual fans, constantly falling for the fake accounts.
yes,
I'm like,
that's what I was gonna
that's
say.
just an unbelievable. That always floors me, because I'm like, how do you not go and make sure that it's really the person that
Yeah,
you're hoping it is? I don't get that.
yeah. It
I
all goes back to do your homework. Like take the
Yeah,
extra 5 seconds to do your homework.
I just can't imagine how you would possibly think, just some big name mainstream adult entertainer is messaging you through an account that's got like 300 followers or less. That just
And
it
they're not
just
gonna message
boggles
you
me.
first.
No, they're never going to message you first, but it just boggles me that they really think that that's really them messaging them, and they get like 300 followers. It's like, oh, come on. Where has I just, where's the mental capacity? And I don't
Yes.
know. I don't,
Yes. That was my thinking. Like somebody came to, I can't remember which of my pages it was, but they were like, I want this and this and this. And I gave them a price and they're like, oh, well, can I have a free sample first? Because I want to know that it's really you. I was like, well, if you want to know if it's really me, then do your research. I was like, I'm on stream at this time. It's free to come watch stream. You can come there and ask me, interact with me for fucking free, but don't
yeah,
ask me for my time for free if I'm not already there. I was
yeah,
like, you can look back and see all of my past stuff. Like, and they're like, oh, I've been scammed before. And I'm like, I can't help that. Apparently you didn't do your research. Like, I can't help you.
free sample.
Yeah. And
This isn't Suave. I mean, come on. Give me a break. It's not shampoo. It's not. My goodness, a free sample.
you
There's
have
lots
no
of free
idea.
samples out there. Go look through their Twitter.
I'm like, this is not Walmart. You can't walk in and be like, oh, here's a free sample table. And it's one of those things where, like, most people wouldn't even go into a store and be like, oh, I'm here for the free samples only. If it's not
Right.
a sample, don't talk to me.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I can't imagine walking into Sam's Club or something and just you only go in there to eat supper because of the free samples they're giving out.
Yeah.
Right. I took time out of my day to go to Sam's Club just to eat supper, and yeah, that's why I left my house. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is crazy. And you know, one thing that I don't understand is why they don't think about who is on the other end of this in the first place, because more than likely it is a male trying to scam them out of something. Like if it's a fake account, more than likely it's some guy that's trying to
just
take your money.
trying to get money. Yeah, exactly.
And oh my goodness, I remember, that reminds me, I was on a dating app and I was talking to several people, and this one girl messages me and they were like, let's trade pics. And I'm like, women don't say that, for one.
Right.
And two, they were like, I'm sending you a picture right now of me at work. And I'm like, that's a cool picture. I was like, can you send me this picture? And then they sent another one. And I was like, that's not the picture I asked for. And they're like, but I had to hurry up because someone was going to walk in. And I was like, cool. So give it a couple seconds for them to go by and then send me what I want. And I was like, I'm not even asking for a dirty picture. Like, you could literally be out in the hallway and take this picture. Like, I just want your tongue stuck out. And I never got that picture. I was like, okay, so you're just some creepy old fucking guy on here trolling, trying to get more free pictures out of women so you can then use them to catfish people. Like,
Right.
I'm not going to help you with that.
You want free jack off material, go to Pornhub.
Yes. That's what people don't understand.
You
don't even have to talk to anybody. You just go there and find what you want.
Right, exactly. You can search pretty much anything.
Oh my goodness.
I don't understand, where has the brains gone, have they just has the apocalypse actually happened and these people are really where is the people, their brains? I mean, I'm like,
I ask myself that every single day.
It just floors me, yeah.
And you've worked in customer service, so you definitely know
My
too.
goodness, the stupidity in this world is horrendous. I mean, when I worked in
I feel like
customer,
brains get smaller.
oh yeah, big time. And I've done a lot of different jobs in customer service. I was a manager at a liquor store for a while, which I loved. That was great. But when I went to the online customer service, so much changed. I took a lot of different calls for a lot of different companies, and one of them was one of those companies that they do the show on the TV all the time, and you can buy stuff. Can't even remember. It was Home Shopping Network, I think is what it was. It was one company I took calls for a while, and sometimes they would do sale, like clearance days. Well, sometimes there would literally be a day of like nothing but dresses, and the stupid calls that would come in were insane. I want that black dress. Great, that's like 100 different dresses that just went by in the past 2 hours. Are you kidding me? I mean, I want that black dress. Or I had some creepy calls when I was taking calls for that company too. Some guy wanted to know what stockings felt like.
That was a fetish call.
It was like, no, but what do they feel like on your body? I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, click. We're done with you because you're obviously not calling for a real. Come on. No. They got like 900 numbers for that. Come on. And that was before I wasn't even on social media then, so I didn't know about, OnlyFans didn't exist then. That was a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, and the stupid calls that would come in, it just eventually got to me, and I'm like, oh, I'm so over customer service. I'm so over it. I can't stand it anymore. I can't stand people. You all drive me nuts and make me want to put a pencil through my brain.
Yeah, I think that's the majority of people, like, especially the ones that are calling in for something.
Yes, and I mean, I want to make it clear, I didn't robocall anybody. Okay, I didn't make calls. So
not one of those.
I only received calls, so I was not robocalling anybody. That's like bots. That stuff drives me nuts too.
That reminds me of whenever I worked for a company that used to get government contracts. This has been, oh my goodness, 15 years ago. And I was taking calls for the marketplace. Okay, everybody called it Obamacare. Well, it was like 12 years ago. 13, 12, I don't know, 12 years ago. Yeah. Okay. So I was taking calls, and there was a guy that calls in, and he's like, talk dirty to me. And I'm like, you have the wrong number. And he's like, no, this is one something 100. And he told me what he thought it was. And the crazy thing was, it was like one digit off of the 800 number for the marketplace. So he's like, this is a sex service. And I'm like, no, it is not. And he's like over here, like, let's role play. And I'm like, this is the marketplace. Unless you're trying to buy insurance, I cannot help you. And he's like, no, my friend told me about this. He said, you could do this. And I'm like, wrong number. And I'm sitting like 5 minutes trying to explain to this guy that he literally called the marketplace for insurance. and he's like, no, I want to talk about this. And I want you to, and I was like, I'm not sticking that there. You have the wrong number.
Seriously, this is not what I do.
I was like, I don't get paid enough for that.
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you. And I know he wasn't lying, because I ended up getting 3 calls like that.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I think somebody did it as a ploy because they were upset with Obamacare. So I don't know who gave them this number, but there were multiple people that called in looking for a sex service. And it wasn't just me that got calls. It was other people too, because we talked about it. And I was like, that's weird. That's fucking crazy. And that's weird.
Yep. Yeah, I used to have calls that would come in, and it was literally you would, I mean, I was always had to read a script. So whatever call came in, there was a script for that particular call.
Right.
And sometimes it would be, I would do my initial spiel that I have to read and wait for the person. And it was literally just somebody having sex in the background. It was always this woman like screaming and grunting and doing all sorts of, I'm like, really? Come on.
Did you ever get any of the heavy breathers?
Oh,
like
yeah.
Old raspy men calling in like,
yeah.
I'm just like, what? Why do people do this?
I don't, it's like, and I had some calls too of, you know, people are like, just talk to me. And I'm like, what?
And you know that they were over there fucking.
And they're walking off because they're like, come on, just talk to me. I just need to hear your voice. Talk to me as I jack off. Okay, really?
That just goes to show that even if you have a vanilla job, there are people that bring sexual elements.
Yes, exactly.
And it gets to some fucking weird calls too. I had this one guy, whenever I worked for the financial company, I had this one guy that called in, and he's like, are you married? And I'm like, at the time I was married. I was like, yes. And he's like, well, I'll make you leave your husband. I have a yacht. And he was telling me all this stuff he had. And he's like, I need your real number and your real name because I'm going to come rescue you. And I'm like, I don't need your rescuing. But he's over here like planning our entire life. And I'm like, I'm just trying to help you pay your bill. Oh, man.
Yeah.
And you get crazy kink calls too, man. I had this, I had this one guy call in, and he's like, so what are you wearing? And I'm like, man, this will be the perfect time to quote that State Farm. This is Jake from State Farm.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get people asking you, what are you wearing?
Yep.
And I'm like, this is not that kind of call. Like, I get paid more for those calls. Actually, I get paid $2.99 a minute for those. Here. You called the wrong number. Call this other one. It's only $2.99 a minute.
Or did you ever get anybody calling you and be like, you want to spank me, don't you? I'm like, dude, you just called Colonial Penn. Are you kidding me? What? No.
Yes. Not. Oh my goodness. People
just yeah, they're everywhere. It's just,
and it doesn't matter how vanilla your job is. Okay. They will bring a sexual element to it. Like,
yes.
I was helping people pay their bills. Okay. A loan company, and people call in and they're like, oh, talk dirty to me. And I'm like, who gets excited from this? Like, you get excited from calling in and paying your bill. Well, you know what? I get excited when you pay your bill.
Exactly. Sometimes I would really want to be like, okay, let's back up a second. Where do you think this particular kink came from? Because I'm genuinely curious.
Like, I'm all for Findom 100%, but
Right.
it's not as exciting when the money's not going in my wallet.
Exactly.
I like it in my wallet.
Like, I am more than willing to spank you. However, let's back up a bit, because I want to go back to the beginning. I want to know where you think this came from, and the fact that you called an insurance company to talk to somebody no, I mean, come on, really, where's that
like
come
Russian roulette too, because they don't know who they're going to get on the phone, because
No,
it goes
not
to
at
the
all.
next available representative, right?
Exactly.
Like, unless they got an extension. Everybody asks me for my extension though, because they're like, I love your voice. Do you have an extension so I can reach you back? And I'm like, nope.
Sorry.
Sure don't.
Sure don't. Thankfully, I do not. No, yeah, and or like the last customer service job I had, I was literally taking calls for, like, I don't know, 30 plus different companies. So it's just, and the robocalls were insane with that stuff too.
That can be confusing as hell too.
Oh yes, especially when you get people calling you and they start chewing you out for robocalling them.
And I'm you don't know why they're calling, or who they're calling about, or anything.
Yeah, I'm like, we did not robocall you, I guarantee it. Yes, you did. That came from this number. And I'm like, well, that's what robocalls do.
Yep.
They can reroute it to go back to appear as if it's coming from a different number. That's what they are. I don't know how many times I've explained that to people, but yeah, they would get so irate if there was weird calls, and there was irate calls, and there was legit calls.
Yeah, and it's a lot to filter through all of those.
It is.
Like, but that gives you some good hands-on experience whenever you're trying to help multiple clients, because because that gets crazy for you too, right? Because whenever I was an assistant, I think the most clients that I ever had at one time was 4. So at that time, I was managing OnlyFans accounts. I was managing Telegram accounts, and I was managing Twitter. So that gets crazy because there's a lot going on. You have multiple accounts. You got all this login information, which of course, again, safety. Everybody's got to make sure everything's safe with that. And then one of the biggest reasons you have to really trust the person that you're working with whenever it comes to your OnlyFans account and your Fansly account is because your bank account is tied to that too, right?
Oh, God, yes.
So anybody listening, make sure if you do have somebody that you're wanting to help you with assisting, you know or know of this person, because they do have access to your personal information. Because at the end of the day, your real name is on there. Your vanilla civvy name, your bank account information is on there. How much you make is on there. Some people don't want people knowing how much they make. And you don't have to have somebody have access to your account for them to assist you either, because you can do, they can share your information and do promos for you without having direct access to your account. The only time that they would really need it is if you're doing like share for shares and they need to post, or they can like send that information to you and you can post it yourself. But then you have to be on top of your DM all the time.
Right.
Or don't ever know when you're going to get one.
If you're having that assistant actually run your accounts, then obviously they're going to have access to some of those things.
Yes. Yes. So it all depends on, I guess, your level of comfort. But what I'm saying is,
of course,
if you're going to have somebody involved in your work, make sure you do your research, because
definitely
that can be one of those big like life-changing things. Maybe you hit it off and you're making $100,000, and you're like, oh, well, I need an assistant because I don't have enough time. Well, not everybody, even if it's a friend. Now, I've seen people fuck over their friends.
Oh yeah, big time.
So just be sure the person that you're going to have assisting you is legit. They are an honest person, and you're not going to have to worry about them, because I've seen people that are even friends steal from people that were supposed to be their friends. They literally go into their account, drain it, and then bye.
Yep.
And then you're stuck with fucking nothing. Like, it's shitty.
It is. It's a shitty world. I mean, there's just so much of those things happening between friends, between family members. Yeah, it's it's a messed up world that, yeah, you have to be really careful with all that stuff. And the best thing to do when it comes to passwords is to have like I mean, I don't have one yet, but I plan to get one when I'm actually at that level of making enough money. But those programs to just automatically change your passwords every time, and you don't have to memorize passwords, and you've got those programs managing that.
Right. And if you do get an assistant and it's not a permanent thing, it's like maybe you want to use them one time a week to just kind of help you catch up, which isn't a bad idea.
No, it's not. Yeah. Yeah.
But you can change your password on rotation.
Oh, right? Yes.
You don't have to like keep it the same password. You can literally change it. Like, oh, well, they're done assisting me, I want to change my password. And then you can change it again if you let them assist you again. Like, it's not one of those things, oh, you can only change your password this many times. Like,
that's why those programs come in handy, because it'll literally change your password every time you log in and log out.
Yeah.
So
super fucking handy. I've never used that. I've never used an app that does that.
A friend of mine told me about them, and I could get one. It's just that I don't have the money for it yet. So it would be very handy when you've got all these different social media accounts and, like OnlyFans and stuff like that anyway, where you're constantly going into all these different accounts. It would be handy anyway for multiple accounts anyhow. But yeah, if you hire an assistant for social media or your adult platforms, that's like the best thing to do, is to have a password keeper to constantly change those for you. That way, every time you're logged in and logged out, or the assistant logs in and logs out, those passwords are changed.
Yeah.
So and even for myself, I'm not necessarily somebody that you would have to hire, like I don't know, 5 days a week, 4 weeks out of the month. I mean, if you want, I'm available to do stuff like just retweets.
Right.
I mean,
I used to hire back whenever COVID was happening, and I did have a lot more going on because at that time I was assisting myself, so I had less time for myself for my own platforms. So I would take and I would hire an assistant at the end of every week. I would get them to help get caught up on all my shit so that I could do my work, and then they would do that. So one time a week, I would hire them, and they would just, that entire day, they would be assisting me. And I mean, it's not one of those things that you have to make a commitment. So you're maybe you say, well, I don't have the money for 7 days. Because I mean, realistically, whenever you work in something like this and you're a contractor, you don't know for sure that you're getting money from one day to the next.
Right.
It's different.
Exactly.
So if you just want 1 day, or if you just want 1 hour, it's one of those things that's negotiable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much. I mean, whether it's something with like what I'm doing, or if there's other, I know there's other people out there that do handle promos. But yeah, I mean, it's literally, it's not like you have to do 5 or 6 days a week. Even, you could do one day a week each week. I mean, you could do, there's so many different variables when it comes to all these handling stuff for all these platforms.
And everybody has different needs, like anything else.
Yep, absolutely.
Some people, they'll need you to help them every single day. Some people, like, I just needed somebody one time a week. And then, I mean, there are people that are like, oh, well, I just need somebody to assist me 2 to 3 hours every other day. Cool. Yep. That's what you need. And they can contact you and you can negotiate with them. They could be like, this is the time I need. Even specific hours. There were specific hours that I wanted because realistically, there's more traffic online at certain times, especially for sex work. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah. So, whenever it comes to them contacting you, I know on your Twitter page, it says that they could DM or they can email you for specific details. Are those your two primary? You prefer them to message you on Twitter or send you an email? Is that the two best for you?
They can message me on Twitter or Instagram. They can email me. I have a specific email for promotions. So that's completely separate than my regular email. So yeah, any of those are just fine. If they want to have a FaceTime call, say through Instagram, I know Instagram, you can do basically, it's like a FaceTime call. Basically, you can, I would do stuff like that with somebody who's actually legitimately wanting, not just any, I don't want just any random follower following me on Instagram, of course, but anybody who's really looking into business, then yes, they can do that as well. It's
So if you are looking for any kind of assistant work, you can go to at Medina Promos. That's MEDINAPROMOS on Twitter. It looks like you do have a backup account too, and there are links conveniently available for you if you have any questions or if you want to talk about some kind of negotiations for your specific needs, whatever they may be. I can 100% say that I've been following Medina for a little while now. And actually the algorithm suggested Medina through a couple other promo accounts that I follow. But I can honestly say that the amount of effort that are put into each post, I 100% feel confident that all your information is gonna be there and you are gonna get maximum exposure. Because I'm looking on, actually, I have it pulled up, your account right now. I'm looking on one of your posts about Pornhub, and it looks like it reached over 2,500 people, just that post alone. So you're doing something right when it comes to the hashtags.
That's well, and like I think yesterday, I think I posted about, making sure that you tag everybody.
Oh, yeah. And this one's got 15.7K hits.
Yeah, I was floored when that one was like, I don't know why it took off so much more this time than it has in the past, because I've posted that before. I've posted it many times, and I don't know why it took off so much time, but
definitely took the fuck off, didn't it?
It did. I mean, of course, I think there's two people that I know for sure that shared it that are pretty big names in the industry, so that's probably the reason why. But how they saw it to begin with, I don't know, because they didn't follow. One of them started following me that exact same day. The other one does not. So I don't know where they saw it, but I'm grateful for I have two regular people who have been following me since basically the beginning, since I started promos, because we're all kind of DM friends with one person. And I'm so incredibly grateful to those two gentlemen. They retweet everything.
Right.
And that's just so awesome. I mean, I can never
think helps
that
a lot. Yeah.
It does. I mean, it doesn't matter if somebody has a couple hundred followers or, over 1,000 or whatever. It does help tremendously. And that's the thing that another thing that I really encourage too is, like, if you're a fan of somebody and you don't have the money to buy their content, you can help by just retweeting.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little thing. That's such a little thing that you can help with, and it helps them tremendously. Because it's like planting a seed. It just takes that one little seed, and you just pass it on, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And
and it's not like everybody has the same followers either. So even if it's like one to two followers different, that's still different.
It is, yeah. It's like, how can my 1,000 followers be beneficial to somebody who has 400,000 Well, it can be when I'm like constantly retweeting for all these other people that they
Right.
don't follow, and it brings all these other eyes in.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's exactly right.
like, it's just, it can be so helpful by just retweeting. It's like,
For
yeah,
sure.
you can like something and that's great, but you could be even more helpful to somebody by retweeting. You know, if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have any money to buy any of their content, fine, just retweet for them. I mean, that
Yeah.
helps so much. Even if
Yeah.
you just have 50 followers, you might have 20 of those people might not be somebody who even knew of that person until you retweeted for them.
Yeah, for sure. And with doing that, you can help generate even ad revenue. So you're looking at places like Pornhub or X Hamster or somewhere else, and maybe you don't have the money to support them. Well, if you retweet their stuff and they have a Pornhub or some other free video tube site,
Right.
these people, the traffic can go to those and they can get ad
Exactly.
revenue. And I'm going to
Exactly.
tell you, if you continuously retweet for someone, helping giving them exposure, they're going to notice. I always
Oh, yeah.
notice. Anybody
Yes,
that retweets my
definitely.
stuff, I always notice.
Yeah. I mean, even somebody that does have 400,000 followers, if you're somebody that only has, you know, like 50 followers, but you're constantly retweeting for that person who has 400,000, they see that pop up.
Yeah.
They see your image, your however you have your name on there. You see that they see that pop up all the time. So if you're
Yep.
retweeting for them all the time, they see that, and you know, eventually that could also be helpful to you if they decide to follow you as well,
Yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
constantly retweeting for them.
You could get a follow, or if they open up some kind of collaborations or something and they're like, hey, I know that you've been very supportive. Let me go ahead
Right.
and reach out to you.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot of potential there, but it all goes back to respect, not
Yeah,
expecting somebody to give you something for free.
exactly.
You
Exactly.
respecting them, their time, wanting the growth of their brand, because I mean, that's what it is.
Right.
You helping the growth of their brand. And at the end of the day, I always notice who's putting money in my pocket.
Right.
So remember that. Anybody listening?
Yeah. If you don't
Be
have money,
supportive.
just retweet.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. Hit the retweet button.
Yep.
And if you're one of those people and maybe you have like a civilian account and you don't want other people in like your family or friends or whatever, you don't want them to know a certain thing, because there's a lot of people that are in the
Yeah.
closet. I
Yeah.
understand. Make an alternate account.
Exactly.
You don't
Yeah.
even have to have your information tied to it. Make an
No.
alternate account. And then you
Yep.
can use that as a promo or fan account. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yep. Absolutely.
So there's definitely ways to do that. Um so I have one more question for you, Medina.
Sure.
My question for you is, throughout your time you've spent around sex work, what did you learn most from it?
Um, I mean, again, I mean, I was exposed to pornography at like a very young age. I mean,
Right.
I there was, I think the internet had literally just started being put into schools when I was like 17 or 18. And that's when it's like they try to put locks on things, but there was
Yeah.
ways around that. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just so easy to find porn. So yeah, it was something I was constantly watching and um like fascinated by. It wasn't always just about trying to get off, because I mean, even at that age, I didn't know, and I knew some things, but I didn't know
Right.
everything about my body. I mean,
Right.
but I mean, it has helped me figure a lot of things out. Like, it's okay to not be one of those people who is monogamous in a relationship or gets married. I mean, like
Yeah.
everybody in my family is married and I mean, I don't know. They appear to be in a monogamous relationship. I don't know if they
Right.
actually are, but that's the way it appears. And I'm not married.
Right.
And even like a year and a half ago, I'm 43. So even like a year and a half ago, one of my cousins like, "So when are you going to get married?" And I'm like, "Have you ever ever in my lifetime or in your lifetime, the entire time that you've been in our family, have you ever heard me talk about wanting to get married?
Yeah.
I mean, and I literally turned to my mother because she's sitting next to me. I'm like, have I ever talked about wanting to get married? And she's like, no. I'm like, there's your answer. And I always knew, I mean, I always haven't had an extremely high sex drive. So, I mean, currently I have three partners. But it's actually, it's a group of us that I organized several years ago. It was me and another friend organized because we were just like sick of having sex with just some random person and worried of catching something.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So eventually,
because most people don't even get tested regularly.
No, they don't. But so me and a friend of mine started it. I think I was maybe around 28 or 27 at the time that we started this group, and we just brought in, initially it was some friends of ours that we had been sleeping with regularly, and we're like, okay, we're going to start this group so it can be a safer setting of having sex with just the particular partners that we have chosen for that particular year. And I mean, so watching sex work all these years basically has taught me that that's okay. I mean, does my family and friends all know about it? No, of course not. We keep it secret because Nebraska is so not okay with that stuff.
Same. Kentucky is.
Yeah, and
Let me
I mean,
tell you.
Yeah, the religion around here is crazy. The judging of people is ridiculous. Just so it's not okay. So we keep it quiet. So part of coming into this particular group is we have to get tested once a month.
Right.
We have to keep it quiet. And we actually, between all of us, we agreed when we started this several years ago that we're going to sign a non-disclosure because it kept secret. We don't want, and we have a couple married couples in the group. I'm not in charge of the group anymore. I gave that right up a long time ago. So because it was just too much to handle, making sure everybody was staying tested and keeping things quiet and, organizing a meeting every once in a while if we need it.
There's a lot of political stuff that goes on too.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So we had to dissolve it for a couple of years because one girl fell in love with one of the guys, and he was just, that's not what this is. That's not what our group is. It's not about a relationship necessarily.
Finding a monogamous relationship.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that kind of a relationship. It's literally, it's like, what do they call it? What's it called? It's like solo, darn it, I'm losing my word here. I don't know. Well, there's not a throuple. What's the other word that I'm thinking of? The actual relationship for three people generally is called, darn it, that's driving me nuts now. But
I just came out of class, so my brain is definitely not working. I'm surprised it's worked this far.
Sorry.
Other than throuple, triad?
No.
Close triad.
Darn it. I know. I can.
All I've seen is throuple too. I always called it a throuple.
Yeah, well, there's they call it that, but there's another term for it that it's used more often, actually. I'm looking it up here. Solo polyamorous relationship. So it's basically.
Oh, you're just generally poly. Okay. I thought there was some like scientific term. I'm like, what is this?
But it's called solo polyamory. So there's no financial relationship togetherness. There's no falling in love with one another. I mean, it's just, that's not what we want.
Right.
I mean, I did the whole love thing several years ago. I tried it. I tried the whole monogamy thing several years ago. Not for me.
Right.
So yeah. So, I mean, following sex work all these years has just kind of taught me that it's okay that I want to sleep with multiple people. I don't want to have the same partner all the time. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's one of those things that people don't understand, that just because you like attributes of this one individual, it doesn't mean that you care any less for this other individual.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's what I've found in so many years practicing. I'm polyam as well, and I'm a community poly though. I like I do like the relationship within
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But I'm also a pro dom, so a lot of my relationships are asexual too. So I
Yeah.
have my asexual partners, mates, submissives, and then I have my romantic mates. And it's
Right.
one of those things where not everybody can understand the dynamic. It's very confusing to
Yeah,
them.
exactly. It's if I tried to explain that to most people around here where I live, it just it most people don't get it. I mean,
Right.
and most of these people just are too. I mean, overall, Nebraska is small town. I
Yeah.
mean, there are,
Yeah.
yes, there's a large town. There's some large cities in it, but overall, it's it's small town. I mean, and it's
Yeah.
just
It
they
reminds me of Kentucky. I feel like it's 10 to 20 years behind everywhere else.
yeah,
Like,
it's like when you compare Nebraska to like California, it's like night and day. It's
yeah,
completely night and day, and
yeah,
it's a very religious area. It's a very judgmental area. It's messed up, and it drives me nuts, and I want out, honestly. But
I can
it,
completely relate.
yeah, it takes money, and it takes a lot of money. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for
but
sure.
yeah, and following safe work too. I mean, there's a lot of things that I've learned as just in general about different ways of having sex, orgasms, stuff about your body. I mean, because I mean, yeah, you can look stuff up online, but until you really hear
You
it,
get to do it.
yeah,
Yeah,
you hear it, you do it, you see it. I mean,
yeah. And that's hard whenever everybody's completely anti-sex. Like,
yeah, exactly.
whenever you don't really get any exposure, and
Yep.
whenever it's taboo to talk about,
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. I mean, yeah,
you can't
growing up, I
learn.
mean, no, when I grew up, it was just me and my mother. And yeah, it was nothing that was talked about, you
Mhm.
know, went through that whole school system where, they don't really teach you anything about
Yeah, no.
they teach you don't have sex. If you do
Yeah,
have sex, use a condom. You can only have sex when you're married.
yeah.
It's just, they don't
It's even
really,
worse now. Like Florida just passed some shit where you can't even explain to your child what menstruation is.
yeah, to me, that stuff is crazy too, because um, I didn't learn much of anything about periods from my mother. I mean, I didn't learn any of that at all,
Yeah.
actually. And what they teach you in school, I think they taught us a little bit of something in like, I don't know, fifth or sixth grade. I remember them splitting the fifth and sixth grade classes up. Like the boys go to one room
Hmm.
and the girls go
Right.
into another room. And yeah, the girls learned about periods. The boys learned about, I think, erections and ejaculation, I believe. I think that's
Yeah.
right. I mean, it was, but it's so they still don't explain enough
Yeah.
at all, and that stuff needs to be taught
Yes.
big time to kids, and
Yes.
it definitely needs to be taught that pornography that is not necessarily how you have sex in real life. It's not
Yes.
okay. There's so much of
Oh
that.
my.
It's I mean, there's
Oh.
not okay to do the majority of that in your personal sex life, especially without talking about it first.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you this funny. I'll let you go after I tell you this funny story about my friend. So I had this friend in high school. I was a virgin at the time, and we're having this conversation about them having sex with their partner. Well, their partner just, without talking to them, without saying anything, without even being like, is this okay? decided that they were going to try to stick their penis in this person's butt. So,
Oh no.
so they were like, what are you doing? What is happening? And I was like, yeah, that's not how that's supposed to work. I'm a virgin and I can tell you that.
Oh,
and then there was this other crazy story. The same guy tried to fist someone without stretching.
Gosh. Oh dear.
And I'm like, you don't just punch someone in the vagina.
Oh my gosh. You want to know what it's like to be punched in the balls? Well, it's like being punched. Yeah. You can punch a girl in the vagina too, people. Come on. Oh my goodness.
Let me tell you, just if you're a listener that doesn't know, that is a mood killer for most women. Whenever you fall off and just
went from a hero to zero. Oh my gosh, no way.
Oh, mood killer.
Yeah,
completely.
I'm sure. I know I have some strange sex stories too, but I can't think of any right now. My first one, I think I was 15 when I lost my virginity, and I had sex with a 17-year-old. And at the time, I didn't really know much about sex. I just, supposedly that was the thing that people were doing, so I did it.
Right.
Lo and behold, that it was not what people were actually doing, but they said they were, but they weren't. But so my first experience with sex was, I always relate. I don't know why I always think of this, but I always think of that movie. It's got Angela Bassett in it from years ago. I'm just drawing a blank again. Oh my goodness.
I'll have to Google it.
But one of the gals in that movie, after having sex with this guy, she's in her mind, she literally just says, "Oh, I could have had a V8." And every time I like think about my first sex experience, that little segue just pops in my head. Yeah, I could have had a V8, but I didn't know. I didn't know what it was actually supposed to be, and so I was like, "No, I don't want to do it again. Sorry," because I was like, that was crappy. It was nothing. So I don't think I did have sex again until I was like 7. But because I was like, no, it sucks. But I was
that is terrible. Why do people even like that?
It was horrible. I think I was like 17 again when I had sex, and that guy was, I want to say 21. So I realized there's like that whole statutory rape thing that could come into play, but that's not what happened.
Yeah, right.
I can guarantee you that is not what happened. In fact, when he heard about my first time, he was like, okay, yeah, no. Everybody's first time is bad. First is what he told me. He's like, nobody. He's like, I don't care who you are. Everybody's first time is bad. So, but yeah, so that was not that. I could have had a V8. That still always pops into my mind whenever I think of it. I don't remember what movie that was, but and it makes me laugh now. But back then, I was like, no, I don't want to have sex with you again. I'm sorry, it was horrible.
Yeah, that's scarring. No.
It's like, and I didn't even really know that that I was supposed to have an orgasm.
Right.
The
craziest thing is they're like, oh, well, you shouldn't know about it because if you don't know about it, you won't want to do it. That's a lie, because we got these things called hormones.
Well, yeah.
And it makes us curious.
Yeah, exactly. I started having orgasms when I was like 9 or 10, and I didn't know that's what it was called, but I was doing that at 9 and 10. But it's like I didn't know I was supposed to be doing that during sex, and I know I was a faker for a long time too, because I didn't know about the extent of it should be your partner working to get you to an orgasm before you let them get to an orgasm. Because especially if you're dealing with a man and a woman, he is most likely going to orgasm. And it's, eventually, when I was taught how, like, nope, you gotta wait. And then it actually happens, like, holy fuck. That's
what I've been missing. That's what sex actually is.
That's what I've been doing with my teddy bear. I didn't know that's what was supposed to happen with
Oh,
and then I was just addicted. I mean, it was just somebody flipped a light switch inside me and it would not shut off. And
well, fond experiences with teddy bears.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Much more fun than humans.
Shower experience, though. That one I never had. The shower head experience, I never had that.
I had it when I was older. I didn't have one when I was younger. Yeah.
It's not really something I thought about when I was younger. And I don't even, I think we had a detachable shower head, but I didn't know that I could make myself come with that. I didn't know that because nobody ever taught anything like that.
It's one of those things where as you get older, you've come so many different ways. You're just like, let me find new ways.
Exactly.
So I feel like the exploring kind of led to that.
Yep. And I always had, other than that first experience with the guy being like 2 years older than me, everybody else was always like 5 to 10 years older than me. So like I was learning from them too.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, there was one guy when I was in my 20s that he was 1 year younger than me, but I think he was the only one. And turned out I was his first time and I didn't know it.
Found out later.
He was like jumping for joy. But I mean, he was like, it was, when I look back on it now, it's funny because he was literally trying to put his dick in me. And I was like, no, you have to make me wet. You can't just.
Yeah. Dry run. Just dry run.
Yeah. He's like, I did. I licked my fingers. I'm like, no. That is not going to work. You have to heat the oven before. Unless you have some. I mean, that was, I was like, okay, we're done. I'm sorry, but we're done. I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to do, but we're done. He's like, what? I mean, he got pissed at me, but I was like, I don't even care. And I mean, eventually I did have sex with him a couple more times and it was better. It was much better. But I mean, that first time though, I was like, what are you even doing? Come on, dude. And I didn't know it was his first time, so I would have been probably nicer to him. I actually known, but I didn't find out till like a couple weeks later that a friend of his told me, that was his first time, right? And I'm like, what?
No wonder he didn't know how to do anything.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, that's something that I think is really shitty too. Like they expect. So many people in society expect people to already know how to do it, but they don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Like, how can people know something that nobody talks about?
No, they're never going to learn. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all of this amazing time. I loved all of the stories and all of the information. Again, if anyone has any questions for Medina, make sure you get on over to Twitter. It's at Medina Promos. It's definitely worth it. Plus, if you're a creator and you're looking for amazing people, Medina does a bunch of retweeting and a bunch of advertising for people. So that's good exposure for you so you can meet some new people.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was great. I was super nervous before, but this was great.
Well, I'm glad you made it and I'm glad you had a good time. You have an amazing day. We will see you again next time on Forbidden Depths. You all have an amazing day. Hey, it's Queen Frostbitten again, your host. I just want to remind you that you can follow us on YouTube at Forbidden Depths. That's FORBIDDENDEPTHS. Or over on Twitter at 4BIDDENDPODCAST. Remember to always stay educated, consensual, and safe. We'll see you on the next show.